some shares. And this hillside experience is that of Mariam's son, who just graduated from university a couple of months ago, 1 or 2 months ago, yeah. And so he had known about the new song, but he was not practicing it. He was not singing it. And his concern was that why a real guide can be so simple up to the point of being a suffer. So he was not taking the new song seriously until a couple of weeks ago. And in this real side experience, he was very conscious, and it seemed very real life. And he entered a kind of bar, the kind that cowboys frequent in this in Western films. And then he sees Gopal Das and Rebezatas in the bar. Then he walks over to them and sits with them and engages in a conversation. And then he thinks within, what would Mariam, her mother, say about this? And that she will not really believe her that this is what is actually happening at that moment with him. And while he's talking with Rebeza and Gopal, he notices someone who has been eyeing him, and this person is wearing a shirt, jeans, trousers, and slippers, with his feet covered with some sand, a lot of sand on his feet. And then he looks closely again and realizes that it is Duane. And Duane looks a little timid in this experience. But then he engages him in conversation, and as they are talking, Rebaza and Gopal, they go away. So, as he's talking with Duane, then he realizes that there's some kind of tablet on Duane's head, some writing on it. So he tries to read it, but he can't read it. It's a strange language. Looks like German, looks like Austrian, or some kind of language that he cannot decipher. But he tries to read it to the end, and then the dream just wears off like that, and he gets up. So the culmination of the dream is meeting Duane, and Duane has this tablet on his head, some strange writing on it. Yeah, and when I see the tablet, I just remember how Moses received the 10 Commandments on some tablets. So I don't know whether Duane has any commentary on this dream.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting.
Yes.
So he could not read any of it. It was in another language. Okay. So All right. The basic idea would be to, again, um, it's to read language, it's recognition. All right. So, and from what you're saying, again, he's just introduced to this. So he's he needs time. He's introduced to it, but it's just like a new class or anything, or like children coming through the world when they're new. They need time to understand the language, something like that. So the experience is kind of going along with how he kind of sees things. And so, just like we've talked about, Charles, the Africans and how, and this is all over the world, but the Africans too, very religious. So things are going to kind of, go along those lines. I'm imagining that this individual too had some kind of religious background or whatever. So uh, I can only, kind of imagine what you're saying about these tablets, okay, accordingly. But the idea would be to kind of learn the language. I wouldn't say they're commandments. That's not the idea, but something along those lines for him to understand in his own way, whatever his background is. Okay. Do you know this fellow yourself, or does Miriam, or what?
It's Mariam's son.
Oh, it's Miriam's son. Oh, okay.
Mariam's son.
Okay.
Uh,
I didn't know she had a son. How old is he?
he's just graduated from university. Uh, I think last month or so.
C'était hier soir.
Yeah, yesterday. He graduated yesterday.
Oh, okay. So he's 24 or 26 or something, whatever. 21, whatever.
So, like Mariam gave her own interpretation of the dream.
Okay.
Yes, and this is what Mariam said. Says the tablets, the tablet on your head shows that the you are in contact with the real universes, and what you give out, the teachings of the new presentation come from very high source, and they are to be taken seriously because in fact they come from the real universes, and you see the strange language that cannot be deciphered, is the language of the real side, and it's only you who can understand it, and then transmit it to this level of life. So it shows that the teachings of the new presentation are not of this world, and not of the real side, and they pass through you to come here. So that is Mariam's interpretation of the dream, and it shows that the teachings are real. What she said.
That's excellent. Yes. So he's
That was
probably
like
okay now. Go ahead.
I had this image, a picture of that was sent to me just some hours ago, and they said it was happening in London. In the picture, you see say this is real. Jesus appears in the clouds, and you see a face there, and say this is real, and that God is real. So, it, so I became very intrigued by it, and I shared with some new friends. I shared with Mariam, who commented about it, and my take on it is this: uh, I look at it as just a marketing ploy to convince Christians that Christianity is real and that Jesus is coming back, that he has appeared in the skies, that everyone should take their teachings seriously. So uh, I just thought I should share this with you and see how, for you to see how they are using various kinds of tricks to keep the Christians in the matrix, keep them subjugated, and so that they continue paying and praying and all that. So I don't know whether you've heard about this, read it on any paper or seen it on TV. They said Jesus appeared in the skies in London. Yeah, Duane?
Well, it's really old news, Charles, because they've done this many times before. They do it constantly in many different ways. It's physical phenomena. It's like the movie The Wizard of Oz, where, Dorothy sees the wizard, but it's just a conjuring up of smoke that creates his image, and it's a physical thing. So, we have our marketing here too. We market people. We've created images, etc. And these are references. And so it's easy today for them to create these things, these holograms or projections, and it's fine. It's just going to keep going. Uh, as they do it more and more, and plus we have print shop. Anybody can do whatever. But as it comes out through the media, like again, the media is controlled. It's controlled by the one world order, the cabal, whatever. They control all these things, and they do certain things at certain times. And so, they don't want to do it too much because then it looks fake. But this is the world as it is, and it's fine. It comes and goes. One day it's a big deal, and then the next day there's something else that's just like newspapers. So I just kind of let it go because it's phenomena. It takes place, and so if people are ready to wake up, they're ready. If they're not, they're not. We just do what we do. So yeah, I've seen these things before, cloud formations and what have you, and people can interpret them any way they want. It's fine. It's all fine. So it's not going to stop. Just again, we're marketed with all these ideas, and when you look at the sun shining, it never changes. Nothing new. That's why I just focus on what I'm doing, and the world is going to be. It's constantly going to be funny. It's going to do funny things. So at times we do funny things too. That's all. We do our funny marketing too, so we have fun with it. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, and thank you again for Miriam's interpretation. Yes, I don't really like to build things up accordingly. It sounds a little bit like marketing. It's like, okay, well, this is the tablets mean this, and the tablets. Again, she's the witness. I'd rather hear it from her. So her interpretation is excellent. But the basic idea is learning the language there, like I said, but I like her interpretation better. Thank you.
You just said that you are here to do what is, we are doing what we are doing, and people take it or they leave it. Now, I realize that truth, real truth, is a graduation of experiences. on the real side. And these experiences are fast for some, slow for others, with everyone having their own time, their own moment when they embrace this truth. Now, so the question I want to ask is what the worldwide educators is doing, is it not tantamount to storming the world, not letting sleeping dogs lie, get up at their own time, because to get up at their own time that life has appointed for them? Are we not like storming the world in a very impertinent manner? So what can you say about that, Duane?
Okay, am I getting this right? That, what we're doing, it seems like we're kind of pushing things. It's because of how the world is right now, Charles. The world, we're not 100 years ago. If we're 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, it would be different. Paul's time was different. Everything has been very speeded up. And they're going to continually, the one world order, the cabal, they're going to continually accelerate everything. They're not stopping. They're accelerating everything. And every day that you get up, just by the very fact that you drive your car and 5 billion or 10 billion other vehicles are out there, boats, ships, planes, whatever, just those alone are accelerating the demise of the planet. So the idea here is that we're trying to reach as many people as we can, because otherwise they're going to go into future lifetimes. That's it. So life is about becoming more aware, and that's the reality life is, and it's a choice. It's really a choice. No one has to do it. It's a choice. It's a conscious choice. And when you talk about experiences, yes, okay, the experiences are what we start off with. We need to have experience. That's why we came into this life. That's why a young child has certain experiences with their parents until they get out on their own. But experience is not the ultimate, the isness is, and to recognize that isness. And then to demonstrate it because that becomes the reality life is. And it is too held by most in the literal sense, and that's not it. The reality life is cannot properly function, you might say, in the literal sense. It's like looking at the sun and considering what it is. Well, it cannot function uh, for for what life is according to an individual in their literal sense. It cannot do that. But we do use that as a part that we go through, like we go through high school and all the different grade levels. And that's really what it is in the first sense. We have to go through that. And that's in the old times, in the old days, where the initiations were the idea, you see? And it was just a graduation from 1 to 12 or to 14 or whatever, until you became aware of the isness, if ever. But that becomes its own position, and it's a huge position to recognize. So, yes, it would seem like we're pushing and doing so much. We really are doing very little, actually, but it is huge in the respect that what the new wave is on the real side. And to recognize it's huge, but there's only so much time. So it's like a drowning man. You try and throw him everything you can to save his life, but if he doesn't decide to grab the rope or grab the floater or the the lifesaver or whatever it is, then they don't. So that's what we're doing. Because as things continue on day by day by day, every day, it's not about 10 or 20 or 30 years in the future. It's now, because it's happening every single moment. And this is where we are. And I see that there's so many people here, and every day people are being destroyed purposely. They really are. We just don't see that. You don't think about that because you basically think about your personal life. And so it is not my place to be concerned about these things, but I'm on the adventure to, promote what we're doing the best that I can so that people can become more aware. It's more than just a literal ideas that sound good. It's like the politicians get together and have their meetings and they have these big conferences around the world. Well, these are the people destroying the world. But it all looks good, but all they do is jabber, blah, 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 blah. That's all they do. And the end result is what? Things get worse. It all looks good. It's all a dog and pony show. These are adults. Wake up. Wake up. This is nonsense. And it goes nowhere. It gets worse. While they're sitting there jabbering, like when the president's up there doing his speeches, he's got U.S. planes over there in Syria bombing these people. What is that? Why are we doing that? The birds and the bees, do they do this? Do they have standing armies? It's really time to wake up. Yes, it really is. Right now, wake up. Yeah, because it's not working. Look at the world 100 years ago or 200 years ago. It wasn't like this. We're into a radical nonsense, and it's getting worse. And you know what? It's become a standard for people. It's like, oh, this is okay. We just turn on the news, and oh, this is all part of it. Oh, these are the bad guys over there. They should be blown up. I mean, this is nuts. And all that stuff that's going on now, in 2 days, a couple days, we're going to have 4th of July. And at the pier here, at Huntington Beach Pier, you want to stand under the pier and suck in all the poisons from the fireworks? This will be all over the United States and many parts of the world. They're just adding to the pollution. So yes, this is why I do what I do every day. Because that's part of the adventure. And because through all of this process that we're creating, all of this stuff, okay, it is this recognition of this isness. That's all that's important. And if the individual doesn't, then they don't. It's a choice. But I do everything I can, just like you would with your children, you see. And so we're really all the children of life. We really are. And the guides are like, our parents. And they're trying to lead us to recognize this isness, you see, through these experiences. So I see it as very important, just like you are here, and Miriam, Chris, and Vest, and whatever. I see everybody every day. And I just see how precious you are because you've consciously decided, you've made the choice to wake up, to continually wake up. And what's so cool about this, what's so great about this is that it just doesn't end. I don't take it for granted. It's like, oh, I figured it out. No, there's no such thing as that. That's where you're self-convinced. What I'm presenting here and what I've defined is so cool compared to it's so neat compared to what we've had through these babysitting teaches. Again, Paul had to start that way, but we're done with that. You can blast all that away, throw all the books away, throw everything away. Because you know what? You don't need it. We're creating a new position here, which we've done. Even the new presentation on the real side has been redone. It's constantly being redone. Yes, it's constantly new. Life is always new. The new has always been. It's nothing new. It's kind of funny, isn't it? It's like, well, it is new, but it's nothing new. In other words, people they're thinking that, oh, the hue was always here. No, the hue was a temporary whatever, like the and what have you. These are little temporary things. These are little band-aids to get people finally to what is new and real now. Because the nowness is everything. And this new nowness has always been new now. It's just that now people are starting to recognize what has always been. It's not like, oh, gee, this is a new age idea that you made up, Duane. No, it's a recognition of the real universes and this isness that has always been and supersedes creation altogether. And this is what you decide to recognize or not. And so I would compare that to your little personal life and decide, oh, do you want your little personal life? Well, you got it. And you'll just be sucked down with the unconscious considerations that exist with this world and in creation because, again, you decide. You decide to see everything in yourself and recognize what is real. And it's not about cute little ideas or cute little sayings or whatever. That's not it. It's to recognize this isness for really what it is, because then you stand real with it. And you decide that. And you decide how to demonstrate that. That becomes the difference. Yes, Ava and I use images and we use ideas, okay? But it's more than that. It's to get the individual to recognize and then demonstrate something. It is in the action. It is in the action itself. When we're sitting there and we're listening in the seminars and listening to the readings and writings, that's okay. It's like when we were young, our mother told us stories. Okay, that's cool. But that's more passive, all right? It's a more passive position, like meditation. And yes, we do those things. Again, nothing's negated, but we don't live that. Otherwise, we don't succeed with the active reality the isness life is. And that is a continuous conscious choice to be and stand real in that aliveness, that activity, you see, more than the old spirit idea. The spirit thing, too, is passive, and it's mainly physical astral for the most part. And yes, it does go in the causal mental planes, but it doesn't matter. It's in creation. There's creation, and there's the real universes. And creation has its part, but it is not the end result. And the experiences that we have here, yes, we want these as validation because of the personal self, how it is. It needs this validation like anything we do here. We need our job to support because this is what has been agreed upon now. We're living in this system. And so this is where I'm very focused on creating our own community so we're self-sustaining. And this is what these are hard choices for people to make to step up. They want guarantees. They want to know if they're going to be safe. They want this, they want that. Well, that's the world out there. So when you buy your refrigerator, you want a guarantee with it. I get it. Well, what we're doing here is not a mechanism. I'm not selling machines. You know, when we sell the books, there's no guarantee that it's going to work for you because it's all according to your choice. It's not about what I'm writing. You see, we're not selling washing machines and dryers here. Okay, that's different. Or cars. Yeah, you want a guarantee? I want a guarantee with that. Okay, because it's a mechanism. This is a true reality. You know, that's like asking me, well, can you guarantee the sun's going to shine tomorrow, Duane? Well, I can't guarantee that. You know, life does what it does. Life is what it is. You need to recognize it. So, again, it's what the individual is looking at. What are you looking at? The isnness is. It's up to you to recognize it. So, you know, getting back to what you're saying there, I know it go roundabout because you need a lot of information to understand this so that it's not just a bunch of little blocks like we stacked when we were young. It is to where, you know, again, Most people will refer off of, what it's already been created. Well, that's a reference, but it's not a reality. It's just a reference. It's a created reference. We create references. So you decide what reference you want to use. That's all. You decide that. So we are the best reference around, I would say, because it implies the real universes. Look at everybody else's references. What did they imply? Spiritual freedom, religious this or that, or, saviors and saints and gods. Well, we know where those are. They're in creation, and basically they're in control creation, in the designated heavens, and etc. All of a sudden, what I've defined, I said I'd rewrite history. I have. And now all of a sudden, the heavenly worlds, the so-called heavenly worlds, have a new definition. It's like, wow, they've been created like a housing tract here on Earth. And yeah, they've been created for you to go there. That's your happy hunting grounds. It's like the old folks' home. And you can go there for a little while. And then you come back here and go back into misery again. You see, isn't that fun? That's the chain of events they've created. And if you want to do that, fine. Otherwise, you take the risk and you yourself bring in the unknown that you have not known. And this is where people want guarantees. There's no guarantee. No guarantee with anything. You take the risk or you don't. Because life is endless. Where would there be a guarantee? So when I present things to people, I see they're afraid. They are. Well, be afraid. Stay afraid as long as you want. It's your choice. You've chosen it. I didn't choose it, but I've presented something. And those people that have stepped forward with what I presented, guess what? It works. You know what? It works every time. But those that don't step forward, all they have is their fear. They'll never know. So yes, I'm doing everything I can, radically and otherwise, to present what I do to this world, because there's only so much time. It has become a standard to stay dumbed down, poisoned, and infected. This has become the standard. Yeah. And do you imagine the little birds and the bees and the animals? Do they consider this? No, they have to deal with it because people have made these choices. And the people on this planet, as an example, and in the other parts of creation, they do not want to face themselves what they keep deciding. Just like the members of Joan Clem's Eckankar, they don't want to face themselves. They want to pretend that everything is okay. And just like the people that follow the politicians and whatever and all the nonsense of the world, and just like you talked about the Jesus thing in the sky, they want to pretend it's okay. They do not want to face themselves. Well, I get it. It's a huge learning curve to do that. And so it would seem that we're very radical, even to the point of being abrasive. Yes, and just like the sun shining, sometimes when you stand outside, it gets really hot. And you get sunburn, and you even get blisters and third-degree burns. It's the same sun, but it does that sometimes because you stand out there too long. So, that's what it is. Is there a guarantee that it won't happen? No, you deal with it, but you figure it out. But eventually, what we're presenting is that you eventually figure it out where you become self-sufficient. And again, it's like Chris going through boot camp. Eventually, through all that hell, he figured it out. He figured out what not to do. So, but again, now he has the comparison to better recognize the is through all that process too. Because he can look at himself before he went through it and after he went through it. And we all go through this. So yes, right now, again, every day, just practice it for a few times when you get up. You consider everything that's being created in this world, just this world alone, this little tiny world, not including the whole physical realm with billions of planets and what have you is going on, and all the nonsense. It's mainly nonsense, and the agreed upon consciousness. But for the most part, most people do not consider that. They just consider their little world. Oh, I want toast for breakfast, and oh, I'll turn on the radio and listen to some noise so I can kind of get up and have my coffee, whatever. This is a little personal world. It's a little me thing going, you see? I always look at everything because I don't want to just be confined by this little me thing because it's just growing old and getting weird. That's all it's going to do. I don't want to be the effect of it. I don't want to be trapped with it. But most people don't care. They're just thinking, oh, well, I'm 30 years old and everything will be fine. Hey, you don't know what's going to happen next. You walk outside and you hit by a bus. You don't know that unless you know more than life itself. You see? So again, all these considerations are choices and to meet ourselves, etc. So that's why, yes, I'm like I am. And I take on the agony and pain and the attacks, etc. And so does everybody else here, because there's no guarantees. I don't want a guarantee with this. There's no guarantee in life. Again, I bring that up because I hear this from people. Take the risk or don't. And that's the razor's edge. You hesitate. It's the old saying: "He who hesitates is lost." I just go for it. I just, you might say, I shoot first, ask questions later. I just do it first, and then I'll figure it out. And yeah, many times I get myself into trouble, but I figure it out. And like Indiana Jones, I just make it up as I go. But what I do is I see the best that I can from what is taking place now in the world. What is it that can create a benefit for others? And these things come and go like the newspaper. One moment you use this, it's like a coffee cup. You use it for that moment, then you trash it. And then you go to the next thing, etc. So, yes, what we're presenting to the world is radical because this is the isness life is. And it comes out a particular way, and this is how it is. And people have to keep up. The train is leaving the station. What are we going to do? Wait forever until everything caves in and we can't leave the station? No, we're going. And people had better wake up, and we're doing everything we can to let them know to the point where, excuse me, they actually hate us. And that's good because, again, it creates an emotional attachment to maybe possibly start them off to further recognize what we're doing. And we've had this in the past where people all of a sudden, then they finally, against their will, test the new you, start to have some experiences and go, oh my gosh, this is working. Just like Miriam's son there. All of a sudden you do. All you have to do is just test it. I tell everybody, ask Riva Zartars. That's all. Is that abrasive? Just ask and could save your life, But no, they have attitudes about me and what I'm doing, and I'm not nice because, I say these things about Harry and Joni and all this stuff. Well, I'm trying to wake them up. They ain't listening anyhow. I've been with these people on the real side. They don't listen. They're so dumbed down and passive. They don't listen. So yeah, I get a little abrasive, just to try to warn them. So that's part of the adventure too, Charles. You know that.